Welcome to episode 1 of Conversations with Strangers. Today's topic question: what is a book that's taught you a lesson in life?
Recent book that I can think of that kind of fundamentally changed my perspective on things was Americana.
Many books, but I think the one that I think sticks with me the most is The Rules Do Not Apply by Ariel Levy.
Okay.
Well, even though we're in the science and fiction and fantasy, it's not one of these books. There's a book by Dorothea Brand called Becoming a Writer.
So probably the most transformative reading experience of my life.
Okay.
It's a bit of a behemoth, but it's John Steinbeck's novel, East of Eden.
I went into it not expecting it to affect me, but it did, and it was actually Evolution by Stephen Baxter.
Okay.
And the premise of the book is kind of exploring what could have happened in the deep past that wouldn't have been preserved in the fossil record. Because what we have are, just these vague sketches of what really was there, and like you see a lot more of that now where we have no clue what dinosaurs actually looked like, and people are trying to make them, and suddenly T-Rexes have feathers, and okay, that's new, and you see comparisons of here's what a walrus skeleton would look like if we designed it like a dinosaur, and that's the stuff that we do know. And so building on that, like, what could have happened that just we would have no clue about, not even a vague bad clue, but no clue at all. And so just has fun with that idea. So
The book is a continuation of an essay that she wrote about not necessarily this miscarriage that she had, but a premature birth, which was in direct relation to her being a bit older in the pregnancy, and also her traveling for her job as an investigative journalist before she couldn't do it anymore, and she took all the precautions and did everything. That almost isn't the main focus point of the memoir. It's more about how she comes to recover and the ways in which she comes to terms with everything.
It's about these two people from Nigeria. They're in love with each other in high school. They're kind of like high school sweethearts who go into university and then spend a long time away from each other. One goes to the US, one tries to go to the UK, but finds a lot of resistance to immigrants.
It was actually written, I think, in the 1920s or 30s, something like that. And it's about sort of, if you want to be a writer, and it's very practical. It was fantastic. You sort of get halfway through the book, and you have exercises all the way along. You get halfway through the book, and then it suddenly says, then you stop, and then you kind of carry on with the exercises, and then you start reading the second half, and it's one of those eye-opening things. I don't know, give away the spoiler, but basically it's one of those things, and you think, oh right, okay, and it's one of the reasons why I write.
Essentially tracks the various successes, failures, and nasty family dynamics of two families that moved to the Salinas Valley in California to settle the land in the early 20th century, and is perhaps a tale of really familial biblical proportions. It's astounding.
Interesting. Okay. And what lesson do you think you learned from that?
Well, I think it's a book which has a ton of lessons, mostly because it's about 650 pages long.
Okay.
So I've given you a difficult one. But I think the most astounding lesson that I learned from reading this book was that there are dire consequences that can follow from somebody not doing something as a can be from somebody doing something.
So almost like that there's consequences to choosing either option.
Yeah, and choosing neither is also, I think, the key point from it.
Interesting, okay.
Yeah.
But is it a particular reason why it resonated with you?
Yeah, I think because I was a lazy teenager who chose not to do things and preferred a life of leisure at university, and quickly became aware of the fact that I was perhaps having not the most positive consequences on myself in the world.
Okay.
So yeah, it jolted me
Amazing.
into action, shall we say.
Okay.
And it gave me a lot more of a perspective on different ways of life and racism in the UK and the US. That book really showed me the power of what literature can do in presenting different perspectives. In Australia, most of the population knows nothing about the African content or the African diaspora. And I think they're the worse for it.
Yeah.
But literature like this book can just kind of open your eyes in a way that you just have no possibility of doing.
In terms of opening your eyes, what did it open your eyes like to?
To definitely reading beyond just my sort of culture and what I'm familiar with. It's so vital to read things that are perhaps uncomfortable,
Yes.
things that show, you know, the underbellies of the societies that you kind of exist
Definitely.
in.
I think it's so easy to kind of go through life kind of with those like, you know, shades
Blinders,
on.
yeah, with blinders to
100%.
The experiences
Yeah.
of others.
Especially when it doesn't like directly affect you.
The thing that I learned, which is like, you are allowed to feel things. I don't want to spoil anything, but the conversations that she had with herself around this event, which is just like a small part of the memoir in total. Other things happen in her life. I very much appreciated her saying, I'm writing about this because nobody else is really understanding what I need to say about this.
100%.
I definitely, if you're maybe like questioning this book, the essay that it was based on is called Thanksgiving in Mongolia, which is still on the New Yorker's website and everything. So definitely, like, still one of the best essays I've ever read.
Wow.
So yeah.
Did it like influence like how you write now, do you think?
Only by the fact that it sort of it just kind of teaches you just you need to be able to sit down and write if you want to finish like a long book or whatever like that, or anything. So yeah, so it teaches you that really in a nice don't see it coming sort of way, and yeah, it's really good. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it if any writers.
I guess what that showed me, the book goes billions of years back and then runs all the way through to the present, and then it actually goes to the near future when, in this story, humans end up reaching their climax in evolution, but then it keeps going and it shows that we're kind of just one step, one tiny little story in this incredibly massive picture.
Yeah.
And so even more, like I'm a geology student, even more so than just like looking at, you know, it comes out right.
Like man's passionate about this.
But like even more than just looking at, you know, you can, the diagram, the geological timescale, that means nothing, but having it written down like this and just exploring and constantly emphasizing this is the teensiest, tiniest portion of what could have even happened. At the end as well, it kind of emphasizes that this is one planet. This is one, in itself, microcosm of a microcosm of a microcosm. And so I think the lesson I learned there was probably just don't take it for granted.
Well, I think it's quite interesting because as humans, we think we're like this superior species, you know, and like we're able to do all this like stuff. You talk about it like that in terms of just how long the universe has existed, how Earth is just one planet. There's so much out there that we don't know, we haven't discovered, but we still think we're this elite species, you know? And we just refuse to see that there are like more intelligent life forms.
It even addresses that as well at one point. People are smart, like I guess we built this library, but why is that something that should be valued? Because in this grand scheme, it's a drop in the ocean, and why do we value that?
Thank you so much.
Too close. Go back. Thank you. Alright, it's a new day and I've kind of thought about all the books and I've decided on which one to pick. But first, comment down below which book you would choose. Right, let's go get it. Come with me.
Type of fiction. So it's just type of fiction.
This is fiction.
We just need like plain fiction, like regular fiction.
While me and Sophia struggle to find the fiction section, let me tell you why I chose the book that I did. It was quite a hard decision, but I went for East of Eden because I'm currently in this weird headspace where I'm overthinking absolutely everything and thinking, what if I did this or what if I didn't do this? So if this book can stop me doing that, then it's a win-win situation. Now, I would love to know a book that has taught you a lesson, so please comment that down below. I also want to say a big thank you to Toppings Bookstore. Honestly, so kind of you to let me film in your store, and if you live in Edinburgh or are visiting Edinburgh, this is by far the coolest bookstore in the city, so definitely check it out, and the people who work there are pretty cool too. Okay, I'm gonna fess up. I could not find the book for the life of me, so I actually had to ask Andrew to get it for me, but we're just gonna pretend that I didn't, and that I'm like an independent person and I can find books for myself.
This is definitely where the book was from.
That was so fake.
We. Okay, we have the book. Did I have to ask for help? Yeah, I did.
What about it?
So what? Let's go buy it. Let's go buy it. Okay. We're gonna get some beautiful coffee. Maybe read this book while we drink the coffee.
Yeah, at the same time. Good idea. That's gonna work.